Morning, everybody. Sorry, I just had a little technical glitch there. Like I said, I'm Jess Pearson. I'm the consultant psychologist at PPS. I'm doing weekly videos at 9:15 for around 15 minutes, just targeting different mental health challenges that people might come across as they are navigating the challenges of day-to-day life at the moment. I've done 3 videos before this week, but the topic for today is tailored to a lot of our clients. It's actually running a business and managing relationships from home. So many of our clients are business owners, so this live stream is dedicated to you. One recent challenge that has, I guess, come out of the situation with COVID-19 is obviously the huge change to routine in daily life. So previously, many of us would have left home to go to work, or for those of you who already worked from home, you at least sort of had family members and housemates, children going out so that you have the mental space to get into the zone with work. But given that we're all sort of self-isolating at the moment, this has meant that we've had to sort of change the way we operate, whether it's trying to adapt our businesses to home, trying to set up our children for school at home, or even sort of spending much more time with partners, family members, friends than you would normally. So understandably, these can all present challenges. And good morning, Mish. Good morning, Jess. What we know is that the human brain, I guess, thrives on routine and predictability. So this is probably the reason why so many of us at the moment are feeling more worried and more anxious than we would normally. Since none of us have experienced a global pandemic before, usually what we would do to sort of manage some of those worries and some of those anxieties is to look back to past experiences and how we've navigated those. But in this particular instance, we've never had to navigate this before, and neither have our friends and family. So that makes it a little bit more worrisome, a little bit more anxiety provoking, and a little bit more uncertain, especially since we don't have a specific end date in mind at the moment. So if you're feeling that things are a bit uncertain and are a bit unpredictable at this time, that is completely understandable. Good morning, Bron. What can be helpful is working out ways in which we can establish a new and predictable routine whilst we're at home. And for business owners, this may look like things like maintaining a balanced sort of sleep, work and enjoyment schedule. Given that you're likely to have spent more time working to actually adjust to life at home, this may take some time to get into. So what I would say is just be kind to yourself, take one foot in front of the other, and see if you can work towards a really balanced routine in that regard. Secondly, and as I discussed last time, if it's at all possible, see if you can set up a workspace that sort of delineates your work day from your home day. So given that everything is done under the same roof at the moment, it can be really helpful to separate those two things. And so if you've got a home office, what I would say is try and use that and shut the door at the end of the day. If you don't have a home office, that's okay, but wherever you're setting up your workspace, see if you can clear it off at the end of the day, put things away, and just have that sort of clear delineation in your workday. That can help to make things feel a little bit more predictable and to help you mentally switch off at the end of the day as well. In terms of routine, getting in touch with your staff, getting in touch with your colleagues, obviously this is a little bit more challenging now that we're all self-isolating. And again, we're much more used to doing this face-to-face. But there are so many ways to interact online now, and that's what is really good about having a global pandemic at this time, is that there are still so many ways to interact. So in terms of your staffing or your colleagues, I would say find a way that works for you. Ask your staff for suggestions as to, what they would feel comfortable with. And obviously staff meetings online can be helpful and keep that sense of routine. But I would also say if you want to have sort of coffee catch-ups or break catch-ups, that can be really helpful too, and to kind of keep up team morale as you're going through this time. Mish has just asked, I love my family, of course, but I'm not used to spending this much time with them. Any tips? Fantastic question. And I'm actually going to come back to this a little bit later in the talk, but thank you so much for asking. And if anybody else has questions, feel free to put them in the comments section or just to send us a private message over Facebook. In terms of managing expectations, this is something else that can help during this time if you're managing a business. So what we know is that a lot of our clients and a lot of business owners are often likely operating at a very high level. You've gotten to where you are for a reason. You've sort of put the hard work in, and that's what has brought about your business. But what I would say is ask yourself, what do I need to be doing to just get through this time? So remind yourself this is not forever. Your business will be able to return to a place that you are comfortable with, but now is not the time to be keeping those high standards that you might be normally. Just to be getting through, putting one foot in front of the other, and when things return to normality, you can set it all up again. So managing your expectations is incredibly important, because if you're not expecting to be achieving up here because this is a bit unrealistic at this point in time, just adjust that to be sort of about here. Work out what do I need, what are the necessities at the moment, and how can I navigate those. Another point which I think is worth emphasizing, and particularly for business owners, what can be helpful is dedicating some scheduled time in your diary, and again with this focus on routine, to business adaptation. So since you're having to change the way you're doing things for now, this is going to take some time to process. It's going to take some thinking time. So it can help and can reduce some of that anxiety and uncertainty if you actually have set aside some time in your work diary to dedicate to adapting your business to these times. It's also a great time to reach out to colleagues or other businesses for ideas. So, of course, as you all know, PPS is set up to be able to help in this regard. We're doing daily videos on changes that the government are announcing for businesses and individuals, and we're sort of trying to stay on top of ways that you can adapt your business to work with the current climate. So please feel free to reach out to us. It's an obligation-free discussion initially, so pick up the phone and we are more than happy to talk with you about some ideas and what might work for your individual business. Michelle asked before, I love my family, but I'm not used to spending this much time with them, and this is a really good point and part of the topic for today. It's clear that you're spending a lot more time with family and even other housemates, friends, parents than you would normally. And conflict during this time is going to happen. So I think having that expectation as well can be helpful to acknowledge that because there is such a change to daily life at the moment, people are going to feel a little bit more on edge. When people are worried and they're feeling uncertain, they're feeling a bit more anxious, they can tend to externalize that frustration, and that can come out in arguments. And, if you're finding yourself frustrated because you normally have more time to yourself, again, I would say just remind yourself these are unprecedented times and they won't be forever times. So coming back to that can be helpful. I know we don't have an end date to this at the moment, but it can be helpful to say, I just have to adapt for now. This is not forever. Also acknowledging everybody is processing these challenges in their own way. So if you have kids who are a bit out of routine, we know kids thrive on routine as well. Just reminding yourself that everybody is processing in a different way, and open communication is incredibly important. So what that can involve is essentially expressing where you're at. And this can apply to whoever you live with, but it can also apply to colleagues, employees, employers, expressing where you feel you're at, what your needs are, and perhaps proposing some solutions to address those needs. It's understandable during this time, like I said, that people are going to feel frustrated and a number of other emotions as well. So what's likely to happen is sometimes the wrong thing will come out of your mouth. Sometimes you'll say the wrong thing. And that's actually okay during this time. What I would say is, if you've said the wrong thing, whether it's to a staff member, to a colleague, to a family member, to a friend, just take the time you need to process what you've said and own up, apologise for it, work out what you could do better next time. It's a time to acknowledge that everyone is in the same boat, and I talked about this in one of my previous videos as well, this element of common humanity. We are all in this together. Also, given what we know from sort of neuropsychology and what happens in the brain, if you're feeling really frustrated or feeling really anxious or overwhelmed, you can tend to make really erratic and quick decisions, which can sometimes come off the wrong way to others around you. So what I would say is, if you're feeling that sort of high level of energy, frustration, anxiety, take a break, whether it's going for a short walk, doing some stretching, doing some breathing, just to give yourself a moment to calm your body down, and then your brain's going to catch up. So the front part of the brain that is responsible for all of our logical decision making tends to go offline when we're sort of really overwhelmed, and so we're not in a position to say things or to do things when we're in that state. So whatever you need to do to just give yourself a moment to calm down, that's really important, so that when you return to the conversation, you're able to think things through a little bit more clearly. Mish, I hope that's helped to answer your question. Like I said, anybody else, feel free to pop some questions into the comments. Another point that I just wanted to make around managing relationships whilst at home, and this is particularly tailored for business owners who might have children at home. So if you do have children at home whilst you're working, again, acknowledging what expectations are reasonable during this time is really important. So you're not going to be able to operate at your absolute best. That is okay, and again, everybody is in the same boat with this. So what you can do is work out how to communicate how things are going to be nice and early with your colleagues, with your employees, and with your family. So if you're able to be quite upfront and nice and early about how available you're going to be during this time, it sets up expectations and routine for everybody around you. So, for example, if there are business owners with very young children, you may need to take more time out throughout the day to attend to their needs. And again, this can sometimes be frustrating. You might feel yourself getting into the zone with work and then sort of having to be pulled away from that, distracted by the kids, and then having to come back. If you have a partner or if you have another caregiver at home, it can help to talk with them about ways in which you can share that responsibility, and again, have routine around that. So on these days or at these times, I'll be responsible for the kids, and on these times you will. Delegating that responsibility can be really helpful. And also for older children, if you're sort of having to homeschool them at the moment, you may want to have a discussion with them about boundaries in your workday and also boundaries in theirs. So it's a good opportunity for you all to have an open discussion around what is needed to operate as best you can during this time and see if you can accommodate all of those needs. Again, this is not going to be perfect, and that is absolutely okay. So, just working out as best you can how to establish that new routine can be handy. Also, if you've got a partner or a housemate, a parent, whoever else you live with, sort of talking with them about how things are feeling, ways to adjust your routine so that responsibility is shared, so that things are getting done, that can introduce some more sort of predictability. So I guess I've made 7 points, which is in the theme of my talks, but I'm just going to summarize them now for you so that we've got some key things to come back to for this week. So in terms of establishing a predictable routine whilst at home as you're managing a business or managing relationships, maintaining a balanced sleep, work and enjoyment schedule, setting up a specific workplace that delineates work and free time, creating routine out of keeping in touch with your staff or colleagues, managing your expectations of what's achievable during this time and being kind to yourself around things that aren't achievable. Number 5, dedicating scheduled time in your diary to adapting your business to these times. If you've got children at home, communicating early with them around expectations and also communicating with partners to make sure that things are feeling comfortable at home. And finally, conflict. Conflict is going to happen, so take breaks wherever you need them to sort of recoup, reset, and return to conversations when you're feeling a little bit less overwhelmed. So in, I think it was my first video, I've brought up a few relaxation strategies that might be helpful that you could use if you're feeling overwhelmed. But of course, if you need any other resources, please feel free to reach out. You can private message us or comment in this chat, either is fine. But that's it for today, everybody. Like I said the last few times, if you have any ideas for videos or topics that you would like me to cover in future weeks, please feel free to let us know. We're really open to adapting content to our clients and colleagues, so whatever works for you, yeah, feel free to reach out and look after one another, look after yourselves. I will look forward to seeing you again next week. All right, bye.